and you mentioned with Jim and Jamie and Edie, like it seemed, because for me, one of the reasons I responded to it, the show, not only being the idea of the mob stories and that was always the intriguing. They're doing a mob story for HBO, but they're going to focus on the family aspect of it. That's always what everybody says, and he did that times 10. And for me, what I responded to was, I grew up in Queens, and I knew people like that. It all felt like, I remember sitting in a living room of my friend's place, and just family dynamic that just responded in the same way that you guys did. Like, how long did it take for the four of you guys to really like click like that?
You know, I think it had a lot to do with Jim, and I think we clicked right away.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, it was that vibe. It was, and Edie, you know, she didn't have children until far into the show, and the motherly instinct, I mean, I remember her coming up to me, licking her, finger and wiping my cheek, and it was just, you felt this family vibe. And it's weird because they did have to go from, you know, I was, maybe Jamie too, but I was the only relationship where they had to kind of go, okay, this is the kid. So then when I was 16, 17, 18 and being around and drinking and hanging out with them and smoking and this, and, you know, everybody's outside smoking a cigarette outside a set, and I'm smoking with them. So now they kind of have to transition to go, okay, well, now this kid is becoming a man. And then they're with me when I turned 21, 22, and they're like, okay, well, now he's, you know, I mean, I don't know what people want to say, but it's like, he's an adult now, and we have to respond that way. So they really had to, like, you know, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was probably weird for them.
Of course it was. I mean, they're absolutely, you are their kind of kid. I mean, you are, but you're spending that much time. You're spending probably, I would assume, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you're spending at that point in your life more time with them than you probably are your actual family, unless your family's on set a lot of the times too. I would assume in the beginning they were.
It would depend. I mean, somebody like Jim, definitely, you know, he's spending more time at this place than with his family by far. But, you know, for me, luckily, sometimes I'd work 4 days a week, sometimes 2. So it would depend. But yeah, I mean, there's people, when you're the lead on the show, it's like that is your friends, family, everything. Like, there's a lot of people who are the lead on the show who have a full bedroom somewhere located on set where that's where they sleep. But this, because it's like, yeah, you can go home, and by the time they drive you home and you get home and you get situated, or it's like you could just go get 3 extra hours of sleep if you sleep here tonight, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, it is like, as I mentioned, though, it was so real, and as you've gotten it for many times over your career here, how, like, people just responded to the relationship, the idea of it. And you mentioned with AJ and how eventually, you know, became like annoying or whatever it was too. But what was the plan? Because I'm sure, as you just mentioned, with how you were changing, and they see, and how great of a writer David is, and how you mentioned before with Tony Sirico, and how they would write around certain things that he would do. I am assuming that they took a lot of stuff that were like, well, okay, we're looking at what Robert's doing here now too, and AJ starts to change. So I wonder, was the original idea in David's head always where, you know, AJ went, or was there just stuff that he learned as he was kind of spending more time with you?
Yeah, I think he was flexible, and I think there were things like, you know, I would show up in like Pantera shirts and Slipknot shirts, and I was skateboarding, and then I'd be in a Pantera shirt and skateboarding, and this. There definitely were things, but again, like, you know, you don't have to give David anything. Like, they were just, I mean, they're so good. And recently, so at the 25-year anniversary, Edie said it was so easy for me to play Carmela, and Jamie was so blown away by that, because she's like, I watched you and I know that's true, but that's so insane. And it is because the writing and how long did it take you to click? I mean, we clicked right away and everything. And it was just this weird thing. And what you know, David said when he did our podcast was like, everybody was getting struck by lightning. Like, it was this, you know, what people wanted, what do you think made the show successful? It's when everything happens to show up at the perfect time, and it's the writing, and it's the actors, and it's them getting along off set, getting along on set, the acting. Because, you know, I never rehearsed a scene with anybody once on the show. And I know there's a lot of actors who were like, yeah, we never rehearsed. And there were some people who I think would get together to rehearse some things, but it wasn't really a thing. And even, you know, Edie says, like, you know, her stuff with James, like how they just clicked like that. It was right away. Like, there was no need to have to spend all this time together offset and get to know each other and this. It was just, we had the relationship they put on the paper, we were able to have on screen. Yeah. And it's just, again, it's David. all the writers, Terry, the directors, Timmy Van Patten, these guys were so good. And so we had Drea De Matteo on our podcast, and what her and Jamie were talking about was, it was like, I want to say exactly what they said. It was like at a young age, you met the love of your life, and then now you're spending the rest of your life trying to find that again.
Right.
Because they were saying they can't, I didn't decide to go act after, but they did, and they were like, you can't find it again. And you're always trying. You're always trying to be like, this will be like Sopranos. This will be like Sopranos. Then you do things and you go, oh, wait, no, it's not like, Jim had his trailer and we'd all end up in Jim's trailer. Like,
Right.
there's in LA, it's like they're fighting over who has the biggest trailer. It's like nobody cared who had the biggest trailer. We'd go hang out together, and there was never one fight on set about, I should have this, I should have a bigger this, my assistant this. Like nobody would bring people to set.
Yeah.
Nobody would fool. Again, we were very lucky that everyone was from New York.
You could tell the attitude for sure.